Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're heading to a coastal Chinese destination that is just absolutely steeped in magic, myth, and some seriously deep history. If you're the kind of person who loves seeing how real-world geography actually gives birth to legendary folklore, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we are talking all about Penglai. Okay, let's dive right into this. When most of us think about historic travel in China, what comes to mind? Probably those heavy, kind of dusty inland imperial capitals, right? Places like Xi'an or Luoyang. But Penglai offers a completely different vibe. It's a coastal mythological gateway. We're essentially trading terracotta armies and ancient tombs for these breezy, magical seaside cliffs overlooking the Bohai Sea. It is quite literally a breath of fresh air. Here is our game plan for today. First up, the gateway to the Immortals. 2, Legends of the Eight. 3, Secrets of Penglai Pavilion. 4, Ancient Harbors and Defenders. And finally, number 5, we'll put together the ultimate coastal itinerary.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Gateway to the Immortals, where myths meet the sea.
So the phenomenon that started this entire region's mystical reputation is truly fascinating. It's called the Penglai mirage. And listen, this isn't just some fairy tale, it is a rare, documented atmospheric illusion. Because of the unique density of the seawater and the air right where the Yellow and Bohai Seas meet, the conditions sometimes create what looks exactly like floating islands or cities hovering right over the ocean. I mean, just imagine being an ancient traveler seeing this. It makes total sense that it sparked 1,000 years of mythology, literally convincing early Chinese civilizations that the gods lived right off these very shores.
Moving right along to Section 2, Legends of the Eight. Gods, magic, and sunburns.
Let's see how all this magic translates into the physical experience of visiting today. If you go to Penglai, your very first task is to pass through the Danya Ferry Gate. But wait, there are specific, physical steps you have to take if you want to become an immortal here. First, you have to aim right for the middle door. Second, you need to take one giant stride completely over the threshold. And third, whatever you do, do not walk through the side doors. The locals playfully warn that the sides are left-wing paths, and if you walk there, you're only going to become a half-immortal. So you really have to commit and take a big step straight through the center.
And you might be wondering, who exactly are the most famous immortals around here? Well, they're the legendary Eight. In fact, there's a really famous Chinese idiom. The Eight Immortals cross the sea, each displaying their unique powers. They're these incredibly beloved figures who punish evil and promote good. And each one of them has a unique magical treasure, like Tai Guai Li's gourd or Han Xiangzi's flute, that they actually use to cross the very ocean you're looking at from the Penglai cliffs. But here's a funny little detail. Not all the gods in Penglai get total respect. Take the Dragon King, for instance. If you go to his local temple, you'll notice his statue has a surprisingly black face. Why is that? Well, back in ancient times, the locals would pray to him for rain. But, he wasn't always the most reliable. So if he failed to bring the rain, frustrated locals would actually haul his statue right out of the temple and leave him out in the baking sun to sweat. Basically, they tanned him until he finally decided to open the skies. Even the gods have to do their jobs in Penglai, right?
Which brings us to Section 3, Secrets of Penglai Pavilion, 1,000 years of architectural marvels. 1,000. I really want to emphasize the sheer scale of the history we're looking at here with this number. Penglai Pavilion is actually one of China's 4 great ancient pavilions. Originally built way back during the Northern Song Dynasty, this majestic structure has stood perched on these cliffs looking out over the Bohai Sea for a full millennium. It's just wild to think about. Now, inside the pavilion grounds, there is a fascinating scientific and architectural anomaly that I want to pose to you. Why in the world is the windproof pavilion completely, perfectly still inside, even when there are literal ocean gales raging outside? Seriously, you can stand right outside it and your clothes are flapping, your hair is blowing everywhere, but the second you step just inside the door, you could light a candle and the flame will burn straight up without even a flicker. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute genius of ancient Chinese engineering. The secret? It's the toothed city walls sitting right outside the pavilion. They act as this brilliant architectural trick. That toothed shape catches the harsh ocean wind and forces it straight upward, completely vaulting it right over the 3-sided pavilion. So it essentially creates this massive wind shadow. No magic here, folks, just brilliant, incredibly smart structural design.
Oh, and we can't skip the quirky legend of the Tang Scholar Tree. This tree is 1,700 years old. The story goes that the immortal Zhang Guolao was hanging around watching a chess game and tied his magical donkey to it. Well, the beast got a little impatient and chewed a massive hole right through the wood. To this day, local lore playfully suggests that if you happen to have a spouse with a stubborn donkey temper, making them walk around this ancient tree 3 times will cure them. For sure worth a try if you're visiting, right?
All right, moving into Section 4, Ancient Harbors and Defenders, Guarding the Coast.
Let's quickly walk through this timeline because Penglai wasn't just about myths, it was a seriously crucial military harbor. We start in the Northern Song Dynasty with the original pavilion being built. Then, moving through the Song Dynasty era, we get the famous poet and official Su Dongpo who ruled the region for a legendary, highly impactful 5 days. Fast forward to the Ming Dynasty, and they are installing massive cannons here to guard against pirate invasions. Finally, jumping forward to the Sino-Japanese War, we see a truly miraculous event of survival.
You absolutely have to hear this gripping story. During a massive naval battle, a Japanese artillery shell was fired directly at the ancient Penglai pavilion. It actually hit a sign reading Haibu Yangbo, which translates to "the sea does not raise waves," basically a profound plea for peace. But miraculously, it was a dud. It lodged straight into the sign and just never exploded. That single unexploded shell saved this pristine millennium-old architecture from total destruction. Because of that stroke of luck, Penglai is the only one of China's 4 great ancient pavilions that hasn't had to be completely rebuilt from ruins.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate coastal itinerary, navigating the modern immortal realm. So, the crucial point is, how do you fit this into a trip today? If you're mapping out a high-speed rail adventure across China, how does Penglai stack up against a heavyweight destination like Xi'an? Well, Xi'an obviously gets 5 stars for its massive scale, the Terracotta Army, all that heavy Tang Dynasty history. But Penglai? It earns a very solid 4 stars for something entirely different. It offers mythology, coastal scenery, and rich maritime history. It adds some vital thematic diversity to your trip. After days of exploring inland temples and dusty monuments, the fresh ocean breeze and the visual variety of Penglai's sea cliffs provide this spectacular, refreshing contrast. If you're looking at a practical 1 to 2 day itinerary, here are your absolute must-do modern travel highlights. First, you've got to visit the incredible gorge-shaped island dedicated to the Eight Immortals, where you can walk right out into the ocean. You can literally stand at the exact geographic border where the Yellow Sea meets the Bohai Sea. And of course, you have to eat. Penglai is incredibly famous for its fresh local scallops, abalone, and sea cucumbers. The whole sensory experience of those salty sea breezes combined with a massive fresh seafood feast is just something you cannot replicate in the inland capitals. Before we wrap things up today, I want to share this really profound historical translation. It's from a stele located inside the pavilion, written by Su Dongpo, that famous poet who served as governor here. He wrote, "Loyal subjects and filial children are the true immortals." I just find that incredibly moving. He took this location, a place literally famous for the mythical search for eternal life, and connected it right back down to earth, to simple human goodness and taking care of one another. We're going to conclude our journey right at the 3 Laughs Gate at Bayun Palace. Local tradition actually says that as you exit the immortal realm to return to the mortal world, you must laugh out loud 3 times. Why? Because you're supposed to leave all your worries and stress behind in the immortal realm, returning home with nothing but joy. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If you were stepping through the 3 Laughs Gate today, what heavy worries would you choose to leave behind? Thanks so much for exploring Penglai with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.